Publicly, Bishop Malone said he wanted victims to come forward, but a hotline created by the diocese rang to an empty office in Cheektowaga, manned remotely by a part-time employee. All calls for the first 3 weeks went directly to voicemail. After waiting weeks for a return call, O'Connor says victims began showing up at the chancery to tell their stories. O'Connor listened to one man's story in a supply closet because the diocese had set aside no space to hear these victims.
And he told me that his wife had died a few years ago and he hadn't even told her, and then he shared what he had endured, and I was just, I was really overcome in that moment because you just can see how raw that pain is.
But it was Malone's handling of 2 accused priests that finally convinced her it was time to quit her job. She wrote in emails to the bishop that she was becoming morally allergic to that job. That's when I approached O'Connor, and we had the first of many secret meetings in this abandoned parking lot. She began to reveal a trove of secret documents that implicated Bishop Malone in the mishandling of clergy sexual abuse allegations.
And I remember thinking that I would trust you with this information, that you would not treat it in a salacious manner. I could tell you had great compassion for the victims, and that you also had respect for our church.
Exposing the bishop's actions was not a decision O'Connor came to easily.
I devoted my life to working for him. I knew him very well. He had invited me into his home. I had traveled with him. And yet I realized that sometimes you have to have a loyalty to something greater and an allegiance to the common good versus someone's personal good. And especially when I thought about the survivors, I thought I would be betraying them if I didn't do something.